actually not having a good day, where I actually literally want to kill you, but you don't take me seriously.
Rather than streaming endless hours of watching courtroom emblems hanging on the wall, I'm going to try to condense it down to the key takeaways made by both the prosecution and the defence, to save you time from having to watch endless hours of courtroom emblems hanging on the wall.
We learned that the OnlyFans model has 2 open warrants in 2 states.
Yup, you heard that correctly. When she appeared before the court in Hilo, Hawaii, she was in fact on the run, not from murder charges. The couple had moved to South Florida from Texas in January 2022. So I did a record search in Texas to see what she was fleeing from. And, well, turns out she's got a bit of a history of absconding. So this is Courtney Taylor Clenney's record search results. And so we go to criminal and traffic. We know that she was arrested for second-degree murder with a weapon, second-degree murder. So she has driving while intoxicated. She has 2 of those. And speeding, and obviously the homicide. So under these records we find that for the first one, first drink driving in 2015, she got jail time. Let me just disposition, jail time and or final court costs, sentence, jail. Inmate number. So she's no stranger to prison. But we see here in 2020 she did it again. And, well, she ain't going to jail this time. She absconded. So, yeah. She also had a car accident, which was earlier in time, so there were some charges for that. But this is very telling. She definitely absconded. I think it would have been, because it's her second offence for driving while intoxicated, it would have been around a $4,000 fine. But anyway, that's what she was running from when she moved out of Texas. And she moved from Texas to California. You see Texas. She grew up in Texas. There's the address, I think, where the murder happened. Texas, and then you see California. So she moved states absolutely to escape from possible jail sentence again. As a matter of fairness, I did look up Toby Obumseli's records, but I'm not going to show them out of respect for his family because they have nothing to do with the case. It's just a misdemeanor in 2020 that resulted in a fine. It won't be entered into evidence because, like I said, it has nothing to do with DB or Clenney or anything related to the case. So the next question I know you'll be asking is, did she flee the state and head to Hawaii because the murder, or did she go to spend time with family? And so I have her father's records here, and we shall go to locations to see if he has ever been in Hawaii. Texas, 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 Texas. Texas, 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 Texas. So it doesn't look like he was in Hawaii at any stage. I believe that her parents are separated, but we shall just look at the two family members that are connected to her, and that's Deborah Lynn. Locations. Texas, Texas, Texas. Again, these are all Texas addresses. And then, of course, there's her sister. And her address has always been Texas. So, I think it's pretty safe to assume that she didn't go to Hawaii to commiserate with family over the death of her boyfriend. In fact, I think her lawyer helped her flee the state by making a deal with the detectives in the case to have her booked into rehab while she was there. And I can't help but agree with the Obumseli family that had the roles been reversed and Toby was the one claiming self-defense, that he would have been in jail straight away and would not have been let out on bond or anything, and he'd have been charged with murder straight away.
Also coming up today during the testimony was she has a prior DUI in Texas, a DUI in California, so it seems like this is sort of a pattern with her and may play a role in this case, which is, what was she doing?
Absconding, perhaps?
You know, I've spoken to neighbors from Texas. They were fighting in Texas, yet they're still together.
Some of this information did come out during the extradition hearing in Hawaii, but we are now currently in the bond hearing in Miami. So more details are now coming out.
Because I have not seen, whether it's in a text message, a recording, or anywhere else, evidence of Christian attacking Courtney, of Christian being the aggressor in a physical confrontation. Have you seen or heard or read any evidence connected to that?
No, not directly. There's been some hints about some of the witnesses saying, oh, well, they believed Christian was the aggressor. For example, in one of the incidents, I think less than 48 hours before the stabbing, there was some of the employees might have been talking about, well, they thought that he was sort of charging at her. But there's sort of it ends up sort of being a wash because, she ends up downplaying that incident, right? But no, as of what I've seen in terms of text messages and the evidence that we have so far, I haven't seen anything to say that Christian ever, laid any hands on her.
Having watched the 2 days of bond hearing all the way through, the defense still has not proven that Toby ever put his hands on her.
I was on the couch, like she threw the glass thing at my mouth on my face. Then I went back to bed. Okay, I go to bed. I understand that she was mad, but I wasn't doing anything. I was on the couch.
Do you remember throwing the glass?
No, I don't. But that sounds like me, so. I don't feel that I should be getting arrested at all right now.
The state also submitted new video evidence into discovery of Clenney's domestic violence arrest from July of 2021 when she was charged with misdemeanor battery after throwing a glass at Obumseli in Las Vegas.
You'll get to see a judge and they'll walk you through the process, okay?
In case you were wondering, no, this record did not show up in my records search.
Yeah, I think there is definitely an issue with Courtney and substances, right? I mean, the police in the video you're showing right now, where she's in the lobby of their apartment building, they suspected that she was intoxicated, right?
Right, but that's not why they weren't going to support her claim for a restraining order.
All right. So what do you want to see?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him, okay, the police are here. I want a restraining order against Christian Gonzalez.
We don't issue those.
Because, no, I'm serious. Can I do that? Where
you have to go to court. You have to go to downtown.
But how can I make myself first? Because I know him and he would do it. How can I make myself first?
You gotta.
So she knows that Toby's going to file a restraining order and she wants to get out ahead of him. This makes me think that this particular argument was over who would have to move out of the apartment. If he got a restraining order against her, then she would have to move out of the apartment. And she, in her own words, doesn't like to be told what to do.
She said she don't want police to be called, but when it's in a common area, something happened like that, my safety is the residents first. We had residents out here, filming and all this stuff going on in the lobby area and causing the nuisance. So I called because based on we still have them walking around the property and we need to have them removed.
They moved into the apartment as a couple, so technically they are both residents.
Last time we saw him, he was on the ground level.
Okay.
So
Let me know when my chance is to talk. I'm not trying to
get into your apartment.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, but you told me I was...
Time out. Let me talk, okay.
I feel very like...
What's your name, Courtney?
Yes.
Okay, Courtney.
Why do you have something against me, man? Like, I'm just trying to, like...
What has anything against you?
It seems like
We're
you don't
trying
like
to talk.
me.
So, you just want to get back in your apartment. Unfortunately, he can't be here in the property.
Yes, he can be near the property. He's a fucking resident.
That is totally fine.
Okay, so
He's been literally sleeping in my elevator room without permission.
What we're going to do is...
Why does he need permission? He lives there.
Find him so he can leave the property and you get back to your apartment. What else do you need?
I was told I was going to get a chance to speak.
Go ahead, Courtney. What's going on?
That's your turn.
Are you gonna listen?
We're listening. Go ahead.
Did you say something wrong?
Yes. Yes, they're all three here. Okay, so...
Courtney, what do you have?
Did she get back to her apartment?
Hold on. It took me a long time to let them talk to me, so hold on. No, can you please just listen?
Just talk to them. I want to talk to him.
I wouldn't mind betting that that's her father on the phone.
Courtney, what's going on? What do you need? What?
My boyfriend.
Why is she whispering that she broke up with him? That seems to be the only part she wants to whisper.
Hey, Mom. He hasn't been I don't care.
Just in case you missed it, she said he hasn't paid any rent and I don't care. So this argument actually is about who has to leave the apartment in the event that they break up.
Hold it down. I broke up with him about a week ago. I had my mom fly out. She stayed with me for a week. She tried to take him out, and he kept sleeping in the elevator inside of my extra couch. And somehow, I said, okay, Mom, it's cool for you to go home today. I think I got it from here. I literally took her to the airport this morning.
So her mum came to stay for a week and he didn't want to be there. Who didn't want to hide in the couch when the in-laws came to visit? Hell, I'd have lived in a closet if I could have.
I stayed in my apartment all day. I didn't take my dogs out for 8 hours because I was afraid that when I came down here, I was going to beat him. But when I did come down, I walked my dogs, and he was telling me he wouldn't leave me alone. I said, can I please just walk my dogs in peace?
I very much doubt she begged him innocently, please walk my dogs, please, given the recordings that we've heard.
We're not together.
Courtney, does he have any property in your apartment?
He has so much. Can I, with respect, can I please? I just I just feel like I'm not being heard.
Well, of course all his belongings are there. He just moved from Texas, for Pete's sake. Can I please just change the subject?
So I had a lot of opportunities to call y'all, and I did not. So when he's following me around this dog park, I said, your time is up. That's it. And then all of a sudden, Like, he flung me in the elevator, and I said, then don't fall. This guy said he shoved her. When I was upstairs, and then they showed up on my door, said I shoved him. I said, show me the video. Like, I really got angry because that did not happen. All I did was take my dogs home. I feel like I am being cut.
All right, so what do you want to say?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him, okay, the police are here. I want a restraining order against Christian Ugonzelli.
We don't issue those.
Because, no, I'm serious. Can I do that? Where can I go to court? You have to go to downtown. How can I make myself first? Because I know him and he would do it. How can I make myself first?
You got to get there first.
175 Northwest First Avenue.
Before
175 Northwest.
Is he already on the way?
we have no idea. We don't even know how it looks like.
We don't even know who he is. How do we know that?
So your question is, I need a restraining order against him.
So she had been abusive to him that very day. She shoved him and she knew he was going to get a restraining order. She knew he'd been recording her abuse. And if he got a successful restraining order against her, then she would be the one who was no longer considered a resident of the building.
So the state has entered into evidence 32 exhibits.
And just to punch the point home, look at item 27 in the prosecution's evidence list. It says lease documents. And item 28 says move out letter, which I presume is a threat to evict, in which case they would both have to move out.
Yeah, so there's text messages, and then there's also the undercover recordings that he took in the last couple months of his life, where the text messages talks about various attacks that have gone on over the past year, right? So there was one incident from last year when he's talking about being stabbed in the leg, that he could barely walk and how painful it was. There was another instance of her hitting him over the head and throwing things at him, and to the point where he thought he had a mild concussion. And then there was previous to in the months before his death, where she actually stabbed him right here, like in the chin area, and also on the cheek, and he actually had to go to the hospital. And there was sort of a chilling line that the state put in their court filings, where and it's in the text messages where she texts him, enjoy the hospital, right? And he's sort of covering up and says, no, I'm just going to tell them that it was a football incident.
The defense is trying to say that Toby was recording only the abuse that she was dishing out because he had some type of diabolical plan months beforehand to frame her for abuse.
But the date of incident, the circumstances under which the defendant killed Mr. Ugonzelli are particularly important. We extracted Mr. Ugonzelli's phone, and the day became, just woke up calm. That was at 10 a.m. Christian's in their living room, you can see it in the background, and he's just singing, lip syncing. The defendant is dancing with their dogs. Christian's just recording.
Hey, yo, baby dancing like Austin. Just get the fuck away. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
The prosecution was showing these particular exhibits to demonstrate that the bruises on her body were there before the incident, and so this is the morning of. What I noticed in these recordings is that he's not kicked out, he's not sleeping in the couch, he's sitting in the living room. She's not even angry with him, he's encouraging her dancing. So her claims the night before to the police don't stack up to what was occurring at 10 a.m. the next morning, because he was in her apartment, in her living room, and everything seems happy and normal.
What matters is the incident. Christian leaves the apartment at 3:55. This is state's exhibit, that's off at the bottom, 14, channel 9. 3:55. He's on the phone, and by that I mean you'll see in the surveillance video the court can see him holding his phone out on the phone. He's walking his dog. The defendant called Christian repeated, almost at a frantic call. For the record, the times are 1955, but that's in universal coordinated time, so this is local time 3:55. She called him 3 times in quick succession. Twice he did not answer, and then once was for a 40-second call. 10 minutes later, the defendant gets on the Instagram line. So Mr. Monticelli returns at 4:32 and 44 seconds. He enters the apartment or exits their walkway, 22nd floor, at 4:33, which is at the exact same time the defendant is called Christian. It's a 13-second call. And then 10 minutes later, the defendant calls her mother. So fewer than 10 minutes after Christian walks into the apartment, it goes from a simple walk, relatively calm, to him being stabbed. All Mrs. Clenney suggests is that she heard the defendant yelling that Christian was lying and for him to get out. When the state knows he's entitled to be there as a resident of that apartment, the defendant has no right to kick him out. But the simple fact is, the defendant was making affirmative accusations. The defendant was making the attacks on Christian. 10 minutes later, the defendant called the building security. 18-second call. And then 4 minutes after that, she called him.
Now, what's the line here? Operator, what is the address of your emergency? City man, please.
3101. It's 130, so 130.
Ma'am, listen to me. You need to stop screaming on the line and give me the address.
3101.
I'm gonna die. I can't feel my arm.
3101.
I can't feel my arm.
Ma'am.
So my boyfriend is dying of a stab.
Ma'am, what is the address?
What's that? What's the address, baby?
31.
3131 Northeast 7th Ave. Please, God, please. Come see my boyfriend.
Ma'am, is this a house apartment or a business?
127452582.
Is this a house apartment or a business?
Baby, I'm so sorry. Baby.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
If you have a stab wound to his shoulder, you can sit down.
What do you mean he has a stab wound on his shoulder, ma'am?
Yes, he's bleeding from his shoulder.
Rescue, this is PD physician to caller. Ma'am, hold on one moment. The caller advised the address is 3131 Northeast 7th Avenue, 31 Northeast 7th Avenue. The phone number is verified. The caller advised that her boyfriend has a stab wound. Okay, is this a house, apartment, or a business?
Listen, please, God, please, God. Please, God, please, God.
Listen, I'm sending help, and I need you to tell me exactly what happened. I'm sending help. How old is he? Ma'am, how old is he? Is he awake? Hello? Hello?
The defendant acknowledged it. Her actions. She apologized. Police arrived within 5 minutes. I'm not going to air here. The state exhibit 21 was still shot. It shows the defendant cradling Mr. Monticelli's body. The defendant is transported to Miami Police headquarters and interviewed, and she gives herself a big statement. It's inconsistent throughout. It conflates the date as a whole. It suggests that Christian had gone to Subway and that this incident occurred as a result of the Subway. We know from the key fob record, we know from the video, he was not returning from Subway. This argument happened earlier in the day. And it very might well have happened, as the defendant suggested, to justify self-defense.
Now that she's sober, I hope that those are tears of guilt and not just tears for herself, because she knows she's screwed